Alright, hey guys. Let me go ahead and answer these from the study guide and do them. Look over them, practice them what you need to. I know this post will also include the test, but I am going to extend that. I think it'll say on the announcement. That way you can get started and get studying and look through, but we don't fall behind as far as our time to still get everything in we need to. Here is, I kind of broke this test up, made it small to where all we're doing is the function tables, the slope, and then putting these in slope intercept, okay? We'll get to graphing next, but let's start here, kind of build our foundation, test over that, and then move on to the next material. It'll also give you a good opportunity to get two good test scores by splitting it up instead of one big long test that, you know, there may be things you struggle on. But let's look at these here, and we're just plugging in whatever the x is to our equation and getting our output. Okay, another thing is to remember this is domain and range. Okay, input, output, domain and range. And so let's look at that. Let's plug in -1. So -1 plus 4 is 3. Okay, so -1 plus 4 is 3. 0 plus 4, if we put in 0 here, 0 plus 4 is 4. And 1 plus 4 is 5. Okay. So that's that one. This one here is a little bit harder. You know, we got to do a couple things. So let's show you what I'm doing here. If I put in -2, I'm going to get -2 times, because that's times when you put them together, -2 times -2, that's what I'm plugging in, plus 5. Well, negative times a negative is positive, and 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay. Then if I plug in 0, -2 times 0, anything times 0 is 0, so it's 0 plus 5, which is 5. Okay, so it's not always going up by ones. You know, it depends on the equation. So this one's going to, you know, go differently. The last one is if I plug in 2 for x, I get a negative times a positive, which is negative, and -4 plus 5 is 1. Okay. All right, now these here, we need to, so that we're solving for y. Remember, we're wanting our output. We want to solve for y. We're going to have to do that thing where we move the 2x. And in this case, it's not necessarily a have to that you have to put it in front, but just to keep it easy to where we keep everything the same, we can have it move in front here. But it didn't have to do these problems. We're not graphing them. We're not doing our slope intercept down here. But I just think it's easier to go ahead and keep it the same and move it in front. But you know, you could have put it behind here, 7 minus 2x, and still got the same results. But let's go ahead and move it in front. And then now we can plug in what our x is and solve for our y. So let's put that in. So -2, if we plug in a -3, okay, and add 7. So this is a positive now. Okay, and it's going to be 13. So our y ends up being 13. Okay, and then let's do the 1. So -2 times 1 plus 7 is -2 plus 7, which is 5. Okay, and then let's do the -2 times 3. Plug in 3 plus 7. Okay, and each one I'm going back to this equation. So, you know, each time I start right here, -2 times 3 plus 7. And so now it's -6 plus 7, which is 1. Okay. Same thing here. Let's put this in y equals mx plus b, just to get in the practice, -2x plus 4. Now we're solving for y, so we need to get rid of this 2 by dividing. And so our equation to plug in is going to be -x plus 2. Okay, so because I divided, -2 divided by 2 is -1, and we don't put the 1. And then 4 divided by 2. So now I can just, but this is going to be tricky. It's almost going to be so hard, it's tricky. We can't leave that negative off, So let me give you an example on this first one. Okay, so y is going to equal negative, and then plug in your x just as it is. The first x is -1, so it's a negative -1 plus 2. And this is a double sign that needs to be changed to +1 plus 2, which is 3. Okay, so it gets kind of tricky if it's like if you need a -1 there, and to remember to put -1 times -1 in here, you can do that, and so that you get +1. Okay, let's do the next one. So now the next one doesn't really matter because, you know, if I put in a 0, 0 is going to be the same anyway. So that's going to be 0 plus 2, which is 2. And then this one, if I put it in, so negative, and then I put the 1 in, plus 2. And so it's -1 plus 2, which is 1. Okay? That negative plays a little trick on it, but just be careful with what you plug in, what you substitute in, and you should come to the correct answer each time. Okay, finding slope. Okay, putting the 2 points in, and I'm just going to do it as the equation. So let me actually, because we're going to need a little room to do this. So number 5, and just so you see, you know, this is an x and a y and an x and a y, and I'm going to make this the first x and y and the second x and y. So that when I go to do my formula, remember, okay, I'm going to put those in the right spots. That's my formula. So y2 is 7 minus y1 is 4, or I'm sorry, 2. y1 is 2. I about messed it up, and we would have had to start all over, and I've done this all in pen, and that would have been just disastrous. X2 is 3, and X1 is 4. So 7 minus 2 is 5. 3 minus 4 is -1. Okay. Now, we're not turning this into a mixed number, but we can turn this into a whole number, which is 5. 5, you know, 5 over 1 is 5, and the whole thing is negative because one of those is negative. So my slope is -5. Now, if you have this as -5 over 1, that's okay too, okay? I'm not going to count you wrong because when we go to graph, we actually have to turn it back into this anyway. But either one of these is okay, okay? -5, 1, oops. Include that in my circle, and -5, okay? All right, number 6. So number 6 is y2, which is -3, minus y1, which is -5. Okay, don't forget minus here. And then x2 is -1 minus x1, -2, which these now become -3 plus 5. And -1 plus 2, which is 2 over 1, which you can leave like that, or you could have just as 2. Okay. Number 7, moving right along here. Y2 is 3 minus -2, and then -1 minus 5, okay? So just again, that's 3 minus -2. I put it in just like it is. And then -1 minus just a +5, okay? So -1 minus 5. So then this becomes 3 plus 2, which is 5. And this becomes -1 minus 5, which is -6. Now this you can't reduce or, you know, turn into a whole number, and so you're going to leave it that, but do make the whole thing negative. -5, 6, okay? Because you got one positive number and one negative, so the whole thing becomes negative. And you're going to see why we do that when we graph, okay? Why we need to be able to make either one of these negative, okay? Number 8 is -7 minus 5, so y2 minus y1, over 1 minus 0. Okay, so we get -12 over 1. And that can be left like that, or you could just make it -12. Okay? Which is going to be a big slope, okay? But we'll see that when we graph, why that would be a big slope. Now put these in y equals mx plus b form. So we just need to move the 3x on this one and have it cut in line. So y equals, that cancels these out over here, 3x, so that's your mx plus b form, negative 3x plus 5. Okay, here we're going to move the 2x so that we get 2y equals negative 2x plus 4. But we can't leave it as 2y, so we're going to divide by 2, and we're going to get that y equals negative x plus 2, which if you look, that's the one, negative x plus 2 is the one we did up here, negative x plus 2. I slipped that in on you. 2y equals, or 2x, actually I just switched those to make it a little bit different, but it comes out the same. A little sneaky there. Alright, something to have fun with during the week in algebra for me. So, alright, so now this one we're going to add 6x. Yeah, and I think some asked me about that, if that was a negative or not. So that is going to make it just slightly different if you didn't see it. And that's okay. If you didn't see that, I'm not going to count you wrong. It was a negative, but we'll see the difference if you didn't treat that as a negative. So you're going to add 6x over here. So you get 3y equals 6x minus 3. If you didn't know that was a negative, you're going to have this as negative 6x, and that's okay for this one. And then divide by 3. And so you should have y equals 2x minus 1. Or, you know, if you did it the other way, if you didn't know that was a negative, it should be y equals negative 2x minus 1. So that way, I apologize for that. That wasn't trying to be sneaky. That was just bad penmanship. All right. You know, I got to go back to learn my cursive penmanship and all that before I, you know, do these. Here is this one. Okay, so add 2x. Add 2x. And so negative 6y equals 2x plus 12. And then divide by your negative 6. And you get y equals, now this is negative 2, 6. Okay, and which that, it's the whole thing's negative. Let's establish that and write that with good penmanship here. And then 2, 6 can, and you're going to reduce that down to 1/3. Now, I promise you these fractions are not going to be hard to reduce. You know, we're not going to get like big reduced, but they are going to be like ones like this, okay, where you divide each one by 2, and you get 1, divide that one by 2, and you get 3, so negative 1/3 x. And then here, 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Okay? We do need to get used to reducing, because when we go to graph these, we're going to want these as small as possible so that our slope is easier to do. Okay? All right. So look those over, practice those, do what you need to do to study. Make sure you know, go through the formula as best as you can. If you were graphing these and got them all right, you're good to go. I mean, I don't care if you graph them. If you're missing a lot of them in graphing, try the formula, okay? So, because that eventually will be much, much easier for you. All right. Have a good weekend, guys. Like I said, I'll post your toast. I'm not starting the video over for posting your toast. I will post your test, and then and then I'll give you a little extra time to do that. But we'll still have to do attendance, so you know it'll be not really long time to do it, but you don't want to overcook your toast. But I will give you some extra time. All right, thanks, guys.